Hello from the Make the Waffle Studios in Longmont, Colorado. Time for what I thought might be a little bit of a way too early um, dive into some Dynasty rookie drafts. Typically, these things don't have to happen. I like to do my Dynasty rookie drafts, July ish, because when you get into August, you've got some redraft leagues and some other things going on, and all the way really up to Labor Day weekend, you've got some maybe your more important leagues that people actually do take a break from every now and then because they have a life. But I have been involved in some rookie dynasty drafts, and so I thought I would give you all a little bit of an early take on some of this stuff. Number one, Legends of the Deep. This is a 32 team dynasty. And yes, this is crazy. 32 teams. There are 32 team dynasties, by the way, where you just get to pick like a roster, an existing roster. So you get like the Steelers, which we'll talk about some of those. And then you get to kind of work with the real life roster to start with, and then add and subtract rookies or waiver wire pickups or trades or whatever else. This was a league where we drafted toward the end of last season, and now we have started our rookie draft. I'll just tell you now what I did on this one. I had the second pick, I believe it was. Jahmyr Gibbs went first, and I took Bijan Robinson, and then someone offered me many first-round picks for Bijan, and I took the deal. So a lot of people might think I'm crazy for that. I can tell you it's just more fun for me to build it a little bit more from, not necessarily, I guess, from scratch, although this one's pretty much that way, but put my own stamp on it, I guess. And with the second pick, I don't think, first of all, there was much argument with Bijan being one of the top two picks. But to me, if you can get out of that one piece, you can conceivably get three pieces minimum and maybe more, then I think you do that. So I traded Bijan, and so that's kind of set us up for this. So we had two first-round picks. I had my own first-round pick, and I had the one I acquired from the other team for Bijan. And I think this was reverse. The rookie draft order was the reverse of the startup draft order. So I ended up with the 16th pick, which I think meant in the startup draft I had like the 17th pick. I was right in the middle on both. The guy who traded me his picks this year has the 12th rookie pick, which means I got to pick 12th and 16th. So I went into this with the idea that I was going to try to be really flexible with it. And so let's just take a look and see what's going on. For those that want to just see a random startup, sort of startup rookie draft, because we haven't really played any games. All we've done is draft the team, and then we've just been kind of getting it ready for the start of next season. Mendoza went first, and Love went second. That's a little unusual. Out of the ones I've done so far, usually Love goes first, and then Mendoza goes second. But that is pretty much your top two. I can tell you Tate is pretty much the consensus 3, and Tyson is the 4. But in this case, again, those two were switched. Lemon went a little high in this draft. You'll see he went in a little bit lower in some other ones, but 5 is probably pretty reasonable. I think. Then you should know this is an IDP league. We have several independent defensive players that we have to start in this league, and I'll give you a little show, what the roster looks like. But so we did get a linebacker picked at 6. Just in the few drafts I've done so far with independent defensive players, individual defensive players. They tend to slide. So you get value typically in picking defensive players. Now, I do think, though, some of the defensive players are a little more interchangeable than some of the offensive players are. Having the best tight end is a lot better than having the 10th best tight end. I don't know that if you have the best linebacker, it's that much difference from having the 10th best linebacker, if that makes sense. So I do think there's a little bit of a valuation toward offensive players in these rookie drafts, which means when you start doing trades, if you're looking for an offensive player, you are likely going to want to trade up. And if you're holding out for defense, then you may actually be able to trade back because they tend to slide, whereas offensive players tend to go. So anyway, Reese went, and then Price, who I think that's a little early for Price at 7. But, if he ends up being, as advertised with the Seattle Seahawks, that's probably worth it. Simpson went number 8. And I found that to be kind of interesting. This is not a super flex league, which we'll talk about some of those here in a bit. But I think the fact that the Rams picked him, that McVay's coaching him, that they kind of had this whole thing worked out in the backroom deal, but kept it under wraps until the Rams got him, makes him pretty enticing. So he went number 9. Sadiq went number 8. Sadiq went number 9. I've been looking at Sadiq. I've not been able to acquire him yet in any drafts, but man, I feel like he can be awesome, and he plays for the Jets, and he could suck. So I'm a little worried about that. Here is where I landed with the 12th pick, and you'll notice it's at 10, so I traded up 2 spots because to me, as I was looking at the draft board, I really thought Sonny Styles was head and shoulders above the next tier. And if you're going to trade up, you should be picking the last player in a tier so that you're not picking the top player off the next tier, if that makes sense. So had I not gotten Styles and traded up 2 spots, I feel like there's a decent chance I would have ended up with Downs back here at 13, which means Concepcion would have slid a little bit, maybe. But I ended up, or maybe Concepcion still goes to this guy anyway, because I was not going to trade up to get him. And if it came back down to here, I'm probably going Downs. I think he may be the generational player of this draft. I think the Cowboys did a good job getting him, and I'm not a Cowboy fan. So as it turned out, let me just tell you what I got. So I received the 110, the 303, $10 of fab, and I gave up the 112 and the 217. I got to be honest with you. When I thought I might move up, I really thought the 217 was a reasonable price to pay to move up 2 spots. When the guy offered me back a 3rd rounder and $10 in fab, I just considered that kind of gravy. And I did have some math that I did to kind of figure out the values and stuff. And I think I came ahead out on that trade. I think getting Styles, getting a 3rd round pick that hasn't come up yet, and the fab, maybe that matters, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. So anyway, I ended up with Styles. Then, as you are well aware, I had a 2nd first round pick, and it just so happened it was the 16, and this defensive lineman Bain was here for Tampa Bay, and he may be the 2nd, right behind Downs. I think he is the 2nd best player, real life football player in this draft. The problem with fantasy is real life football player is not the same thing as productive fantasy player. It depends on scoring systems and that sort of thing. So I went defense in one of my very first ever 32-team rookie drafts. So since I traded away my 2nd round pick, it was the 217, I believe is what I said it was, right here. I don't have a 2nd round pick, but then when it comes around, I have an early 3rd rounder here. And then I've still got some pieces to work with here. My experience too, again, even in a 32-team league, when you get down to these 4th and 5th rounds, there are still some quality defensive players left. So just be aware. I've definitely got the 416 here, and then I've got the 518 here. So a few picks left. I will just probably kind of have to wait and see who's there. I've got another 40 players or so that have to disappear before I get to pick again. But very happy with Styles and Bain. I think those two are really going to solidify the roster. So let me go back here, see if I can pull up my team. I got Aaron Jones in the Bijan trade as kind of a throw-in. I did get R.J. Harvey. Notice I put a note here that I'm not trading. I've turned down some offers for him. This team is very weak at wide receiver, so I will be looking to get something going with some wide receivers in these later picks. But again, offense does not slide. So there probably won't be much left by the time I get there. I'm a little old at tight end. That's one of the reasons I was kind of looking at Sadiq. But I never could get that guy to get back to me on trading up. And so he ended up getting Sadiq before I traded up to get Styles. So I do love Okonkwo. I think the fact that he went to Washington is a win. And we're going to try and pick up Sennett as just sort of a depth piece. I think Ertz days are numbered. I did trade for Malik Willis, so this team's quarterback situation is in decent shape. I love having Queen. I love having Mafe. I love having Watt, just because I'm a Steeler fan. I did draft Penix and Watson. I think actually at some point both of these guys are going to end up starting this year. And I did draft Tank Dell, who may end up being a starting wide receiver for me. We'll see how that goes. Taxi squad, I have Dylan Gabriel and Will Howard. Will Howard, I think, should get to start for the Steelers this year. I think they should just abandon the Aaron Rodgers project and just let him play. And if he sucks, then they get a better draft pick. And if he doesn't, then you've got your next quarterback. So that's the way I see that. This Parrish and Trader guys, they may end up getting cut. But the only people you can put on your taxi squad here are rookies. So Sonny Styles, Ruben Bain. I've got the 3-3, the 3-16, the 4-16, and then the 5-18 coming up. This guy Walter is the one I traded Bijan to, and I have a 2027 first rounder from him. I traded my first rounder back to him for Malik Willis, so that's why I only have one. Notice here I've got 2 first round picks. Let me see if there's anything else I wanted to. There was a little R.J. Harvey sighting up there. I actually believe in him, and I don't think I'm going to be able to get Jonah Coleman because, again, I just picked too late, and I don't want to trade up that far. It would cost too much. So I'm going to just have some faith actually, that Harvey's the guy. I think he is, and he's going to be the one catching the ball. He's going to be the Alvin Kamara, if you will, of the offense. And I think Jonah Coleman might be the Mark Ingram of the offense, something like that. So definitely need some wide receivers. I've made a note of that. And I do have 4 picks remaining to see if I can solidify that position. So I think that pretty much covers Legends of the Deep. I got a few other leagues here I'll talk about, and we'll get to those here in just a moment.